What do you need to run a campaign in Greyhawk in 2026? I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. I've done a video like this in the past, but there's been so much really great Greyhawk stuff that's come out in the last year or so because it's opened up on DM's Guild that I felt it was time to take another swing. And I'm gonna do this video with a couple of caveats. The first is I know that there's some really amazing Greyhawk stuff that's going to be coming out in 2026, and since it's not officially announced yet, I don't want to talk about it or cover it, but it's coming and it's going to be wonderful. The second thing is that I'm going to focus on fifth edition here, but I'm going to put in some what ifs for OSR type games too. So you'll be able to get something out of this either way. And you're going to need three elements for the Greyhawk campaign. The first is you're going to need to know about the setting itself. Just the setting in general, you're going to need a very good primer on it. You're going to need rules that will tie your campaign, your characters and everything into the campaign setting. And you're going to need an initial adventure. So I'm going to, a place where you're not only just the single adventure, but a place where you can start. And of course, I've been talking about that for the last 2 weeks, and we're gonna utilize what I've said before to flesh that out. So the first thing you're going to want is a primer on the setting, and there's a lot of really good candidates out there. I've narrowed it down to two. The first is the gold box. This is, of course, the standard for the world of Greyhawk set in 576. It's got descriptions of the countries. It's got all kinds of stuff about the mountain ranges and the gods and so forth. So this is a really good place to start. It comes with the maps, the same maps that you see behind me, the classic Darlene maps. This has been the one that's been really the standard box since 1982 or 3 when they came out. So this is, and I believe you can get this in on drive-through in PDF format, or you can also find them on the secondary market. And if you can, grab it unless it's like $1 zillion. The other alternative, if you don't want to use the gold box, you want to start a little later, is The Adventure Begins. This is a really underappreciated gem of a book by Roger Moore. It sets the setting in 591, so the wars are in the past, and everything is getting back to a semblance of normalcy. This doesn't have the same kind of systematic approach, like with a section on each country and so forth, but it does give a very, very good and easy to digest kind of sweep of history and the current status of things and everything. It has a ton of little details. It goes into the city of Greyhawk itself. It just has a real good feel for the entire setting. If you want to if you want to kind of leave all this stuff behind, so there's no expectations from your players as to what big events are going to happen. They're in the past, so you're very free to just take the setting in whatever direction you want to go without worrying about ignoring things that have been published and so forth. So this is my other alternative. I actually did a whole video on this not too long ago. I'll try to see if I can figure out how to make the link pop up someplace. But this is your other alternative. Now, some of you might be asking why I didn't recommend my own Greyhawk campaign guide back there. And that's because I didn't want to turn this into a commercial for my stuff. If you prefer that one, it's on it's on DM's Guild. You can find it. Greyhawk campaign guide. But the reason I didn't do that is because I did want to recommend this book. If you're doing 5e, then you want a way to take advantage of 5e's class structure and link your characters thematically back into the setting. And that's what this book lets you do. It's got what you'd expect, introduction to the geography and the different lands of the planet, like a little 2-line description for just what a player would know. It talks about the languages and stuff. The real meat of the book, though, is it has different subclasses for all the different character classes that are linked into the setting. So, for example, if you're going to be a barbarian, let's take that. You can follow the path of Vatun. Vatun is one of the gods of the world of Greyhawk, and it makes sense for a Sul barbarian to follow that path because he's like one of the barbarian gods. What I'm very proud of is the wizard subclasses are all named after the famous magic users of Greyhawk. So there's the school of Mordenkainen and the school of Tensor and so forth, and the spells that you get when you're in that school are all the named spells from that magic user, and they're all drawn from different books and past editions, and they're turned into 5e stats and everything. Again, it's to tie your characters thematically into the setting, and it also gives a ton of spells and so forth to let you do that. It also talks about the different races or species, as they're known, that are and how to make them work or how to deal with them in terms of in terms of the world of Greyhawk. So, for example, Goliaths are not going to be, they're not unknown, but they're also not going to be particularly welcome in certain areas. Just because if you're in an area that's plagued by giants, the idea that you're going to be welcoming to a Goliath is kind of absurd. But it talks about the different human sub races and so forth. So it gives a lot of different things. Like if you're an Iridian, you have different languages and so forth, and it tells about hair color and clothing styles and so forth. So so it's got a ton of stuff. It's got some magic items in here as well. It's got a listing of all the different gods. But the big thing is the character classes and and the new spells that are all in here to really help you get that character tied in there. There's a couple of other books that are on DM's Guild that do the same thing. In my own subjective opinion, I think mine is better because of the way it treats things. But everything has its place, and in fact, nothing says that you can't use their subclasses along with mine. Now, if you're not using 5e, then of course there's a ton of mechanical stuff that you can use for your characters to tie them into the setting. Most of it was published in Dragon Magazine. For the 2e era, there were kits. For the 3e era, there were a lot of feats that would tie you back into the setting. And of course, in the first edition era, the gold box has specialty clerics for some of the deities that will accomplish the same thing. So there is stuff out there. It's a little trickier to find. Go to the Dragon Dex. That's a wonderful resource that has a complete index of all the Dragon Magazine articles, and you'll find a ton of stuff that you can pour through in there. Most of the old Dragon magazines are found online in various places. I'm not going to link to it because it's not kosher, but one must acknowledge that it exists. Now, the last thing you're going to want is a place to run your campaign. And as I mentioned, I've talked about different areas that you can start off a campaign in a video from 2 weeks ago, and it's been one of my recurring themes the last couple of weeks. And I think I've settled on one that I would like to recommend to folks who are interested in starting a campaign in 2026, and that is the City of Greyhawk. This book really has this box, I should say, is available on DM's Guild as a PDF, and it really has everything you need to start a campaign in 2026. It is written for second edition, but it's going to be very, very easy to convert over into fifth edition rules if you want to. There's pretty much all the stock creatures will fit in here fine. You really want this for the lore, for what is known as the fluff. I don't like that word because it implies that it's not very important, but I think the lore is really the valuable stuff in this book. And the reason I choose the City of Greyhawk is for a number of reasons. First, it is an urban setting, which is a great place to have small little adventures sprinkled in, and there's a lot of those in here. Um, but there's also the Greyhawk ruins not too far away, and there's also one of the things I love about this. If you look on the thing behind me, getting out. How do I get out of my own way? Here we go. So the City of Greyhawk is here, right? And it's got all these different terrain types right within, uh, uh, right nearby, right? So it's got hills, it's got forests, it's got a desert, it's got the wild coast here. Here it's got the Temple of Elemental Evil. If you wanted to, you could. you could go there in not too far away, and there's a lot of fan material being written for that area, which obviously if you've seen my videos the last 2 weeks, you know that. Um, but I love the idea that it's so centrally located, and of course it was designed that way originally back in the 70s when Gary was putting together his campaign, because he wanted to have a lot of options for the players to go to. It wasn't always just going into Castle Greyhawk. But that would be my it'll take a little work, because it does take a little bit of effort to convert things from second edition to fifth. It's not that hard though. It's they scale about the same, and it's very very doable if you're willing to put in a little bit of prep. But that would be my recommendation: is start off in the city of Greyhawk. You've got a ton of stuff right there, and go on from there. There is an alternative, of course, and that's going into Hamlet and the Temple of Elemental Evil. There is a ton of fan material already done for that, and more being churned out every day. Personally, I think it's too much at this point, and that's why I don't. That's why it's not my top recommendation. There's so much out there that if you're just starting off in the setting, you're going to be overwhelmed by the choices and the level of detail and so forth. And that's why I don't recommend it. You wouldn't know what to pick and choose out of all the stuff that's out there from several different creators. Much as I loved the original Hamlet and Temple of Elemental Evil, I think it's just too much right now for a beginning DM in the setting. So, that's my recommendation: City of Greyhawk. So there we are. That is my list of things that you need to run a game in 2026. You've got the setting books, which depends on when you want to set it. You want to set it in the classic era, then you get the gold box. If you want to set it after all of the published work has happened in the past, and you want to have a bright, clean, shiny new future that you can do, then I'd go with The Adventure Begins. For rules that integrate your player characters into the setting, I say my own Player's Guide to Greyhawk. And for a starting area, I say the City of Greyhawk, because there's just so much around there. It'll take a little bit of conversion work, but it's not that hard at all. And it's it was the original starting area for the Greyhawk campaign for a reason. So hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. If you have any thoughts, what would you recommend if you were doing a campaign this year? Or if you are doing a campaign, what resources are you using? I'd love to hear that. Do let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.